There was a time in my former HR and talent acquisition career when I was absolutely convinced that the talent market was broken. Great roles, competitive salaries, inspiring missions, and yet people weren't applying. Or if they did, they were the wrong fit. I remember thinking, what more do they want from us? And then one day I realized I was asking the wrong question. Instead of why are they not coming to us, I asked, why would they choose us in the first place? There's many others that they can choose. The company I worked for was Management Events. It's a very successful invitation-only B2B event business that is also my client. And they bring together Europe's top C-level executives and select solution providers through their exclusive networking events. It's a wonderful company and wonderful services that they provide for top decision makers. At the time, when I was still working there, we were only just in the early steps of going global with that business. In Finland, we were very well known, very respected, both among customers and also the talent target audience. Hiring and retaining was not an issue at all. But when we started opening offices and hiring in new countries, we faced what all B2B businesses face when entering new markets. The talent audience has no idea who you are because your business marketing has been focused only on the B2B platforms and B2B people with B2B messages. And none of those messages have been relevant or crossed the radars of your target talent audiences. So I was struggling to figure out how to help the country managers with hiring when we were literally non-existent in the minds of the target talents locally. Not only were we that, but we were also very ambitious, wanting to hire the most competent, quick-thinking, talented, smart, socially capable young talents who only had their eyes on the media sexiest employers of that time. And I quickly learned that being unknown equals being untrustworthy in the eyes of a job seeker. Employers who are unknown in their target talent audiences are too much of a risk. And the more senior talent that you want to hire, the less they feel that they need to take those risks anymore in their career. Also, what I learned was that just because you are very well known and respected business in the eyes of the clients does not mean that the job seeker audience has any knowledge of you or respect towards you. So the question, why would they choose us in the first place when they've never heard of us, when there are much better known and fancier employers who also want to hire them? Why would they choose someone like us who was an uncertain, unknown startup in that new country market, working in some kind of a office wholesale? At that time, were not decorated as fancy offices like they are today. They were literally shitholes. So having to compete against those very well-known fancy employers with beautiful offices and so many perks, and we had very little to offer them at that moment in the beginning. Only much later, that question changed everything. It opened my eyes to a complete shift in recruitment messaging and marketing to what much later turned into story-driven employer branding. That much later equals vision of what awaits you on this journey when you join us. What makes this all compelling and worthwhile right now, even if the benefits are waning in the future? This is the shift in mindset that all of us employers, recruiters, business leaders, communicators, marketers must adopt when the business is on any kind of change journey. Based on my long and vast experience, most companies do not want to talk about or address the change journey elephant in the room for some odd reason. They like to talk about the future, even though it's not the actual authentic truth of their existence at that moment. If a business and an organization does not change, it dies. So not addressing change is like closing your eyes from the evidence. Everything living is always in the state of transformation. The key is to understand this and take the driver's seat. The faster an organization transforms, the harder it is for leaders and employees. We don't really like change as humans. Some of us tolerate it better. Some of us can't really tolerate it at all. But it is not in our DNA to welcome change because that is a huge risk for our survival. Hiding that truth of change is the road to disaster. You need people who are compelled and energized by change and will make it happen. You don't want to hire people during the change who will struggle, fight, and end up burnt out because of it. So this takes us back to the concept of journey. And that journey took me from feeling stuck in a talent drought to leading a business that now magnetizes and helps many others to magnetize the right people without having to chase. And this is what I want to help you experience too, regardless of your role. With this long intro, welcome back to the Story Driven Business Podcast, my friend. My name is Susanna, and if you're tired of hearing there just aren't enough good candidates out there while your business keeps struggling to grow, this episode is for you. Because here's the truth. You're not in a talent shortage. You're in a trust shortage. In a world where top talents choose their next move based on stories, purpose, and identity alignment, it's your employer brand narrative that either attracts or repels. Most businesses are unknowingly pushing people away with bland and unclear or completely missing employer messaging. But don't worry, in this episode, I'll help you flip that narrative and step into talent magnetism. Let's start by tackling the elephant in the room, the so-called talent shortage. I'm not saying there aren't challenges, because of course there are, but the problem isn't that there aren't enough talented people. The problem is that they don't see you as a place worth joining. Think about it. If your ideal hire doesn't know who you are, what you stand for, or how they belong, you're not in their mental shortlist. And if they don't know of you, but only see you as just another company, you're still invisible. And even if you manage to talk to them into listening to you, the only value they see getting from you is their salary and benefits, meaning you'll end up with a hefty request. So you have to stop treating talent like it's a pipeline problem because it's actually a positioning problem. Let me expand on this further. What we're seeing across industries is a pattern. Businesses are investing in recruitment, but under-investing in brand. It's like opening this beautifully designed shop with no signage, no windows, and no lighting, and then wondering why nobody walks in. To make it worse, when businesses do get applications, they often focus entirely on skills and experience and miss the alignment of mindset, values, and purpose. And that mindset misalignment becomes an expensive mistake in retention and team harmony. It's gonna make leading these people that much harder for you if you are responsible for leading people. And that's why I say it's not a shortage of talent, it's a shortage of clarity and connection. So I want you to think that you want to go from being a reactive to becoming a magnetic. And reactive hiring is when you post a job and hope. Maybe boost it, but you're still hoping. You're not in control of the number or the quality of applicants wanting to join your process. Magnetic hiring is great when people have already decided that they want to work for you before you posted that job. This is what employer branding done well achieves. But it doesn't start with slogans or fancy career pages. It starts with clarity. Who are we? What do we stand for? And who belongs here? You can't attract talent by trying to be for everyone. You become magnetic by being specific, bold, and true. Authenticity is so important. It's something that you must stick with. You can't create illusions when you're doing human-to-human marketing, communication, or branding. And that's how you create desire. That's how you generate that pull. Let me share an example. One of our clients once worried if they communicated their true culture, which was fast-paced, no-nonsense, kind of high on autonomy, that they might scare people off. And guess what? Of course they did, but only the wrong ones. And the right ones obviously were excited. They leaned in. They saw themselves in that story and they wanted to become part of that company. So they ended up applying with enthusiasm. So when you're brave enough to repel, you become strong enough to attract. Just remember that. You want to have story as your strategy. Storytelling isn't fluff. It's a strategic communication tool that makes abstract things like culture, values, and leadership tangible. Your employer brand isn't a campaign. It cannot ever be a campaign. I hate when people talk about employer branding campaigns or they want to have a quote for employer branding campaign. We don't do campaigns in employer branding. Recruitment marketing is different, but that's not employer branding. Employer branding is an ongoing communication process. It's an ongoing story that you and your people tell, your leaders live, and your candidates can therefore feel and experience. And that story should not be about you as the employing part. It should be about the talent, whether you're talking about your existing employees or your future employees. In the magnetic employer branding method that I've created, we apply the sciences of storytelling and persuasive communication to position the talent as the hero and the employer, that's your company, as their trusted guide. And that's the story that resonates. That's what builds trust. I want to invite you to start seeing your communication like a movie script. Your job is to craft a narrative where the listener will say, "Ooh, that's me, that's my struggle, that's what I want." And then you guide them from that struggle towards their transformation. This is how story drives alignment, belonging, and action. When companies nail this, they become more than a workplace. They become a movement people want to join. If you are not in the boardroom and you want to have employer branding in the boardroom, you need me to be very blunt to you. Your ability as a business to attract and retain the right people is your growth strategy. It impacts performance, your business performance, people performance, innovation, retention, customer experience, sales, everything. If your leadership isn't involved in employer branding, you're missing out on one of the most under-leveraged levers for business success. Now, let me also highlight the ripple effect. A compelling employer brand boosts employee advocacy, strengthens internal culture, reduces recruitment costs, improves time to hire, and increases customer trust. Why is this? Because when employees feel proud and connected to where they work, they naturally deliver better results. They tell better stories. They become the brand. They live the brand. So this is not an HR hype or trend. This is modern leadership. So I'm going to give you 5 questions to audit, for you to audit your employer brand. So this is where you start. These are 5 very powerful questions to take you to your next leadership meeting. Question number 1, are we clear on the type of talent we want to attract beyond just skills. Let me rephrase that. Are we clear on the type of talent that our business needs us to attract beyond just skills? Because sometimes when you think about what we want, it becomes like a personal decisions or what you prefer as an individual in your organization. But that's not really about what you need. It's what the business needs. And question number 2, does our current messaging reflect who we really are as a company, to our customers, to our employees, to our future employees, and to our other stakeholders? Number 3, are our leaders visible, relatable, and consistent in how they show up? Number 4, are we creating content that tells our story from the talent's perspective? And number 5, do we measure the impact of our employer branding activities on actual business goals? These 5 questions will guide you forward towards clarity, alignment, and action. So my friend, are you ready to stop surviving these talent droughts and start leading with story? Are you ready to turn your company into a talent magnet through strong, story-driven leadership narrative? If you found this episode valuable, please share it with a fellow leader or communicator who's stuck in the old way of thinking. And if you're curious to learn how to actually implement the magnetic employer branding method, check out my new book, Story-Driven Employer Branding, because I believe this is the blueprint that you've been waiting for. You can get it on Amazon or directly from me with an autograph by placing your order at storydrivenemployerbranding.com. The links are available in the show notes for this episode that you can find on modernemployerbrand.com/podcast 201. I want to end this episode with this quote. You don't build a brand by talking about yourself. You build a brand by making others feel like they belong in your story. Until next time, keep matching minds with mission and never forget that your story is the most strategic asset. My name is Susanna Rantanen, your guide to business storytelling. See you again next week on this channel.